He said, "We're better off as friends." So I stopped treating him like he was irreplaceable. Now he's begging for the woman who already let go and moved forward. The air in my own living room felt thin, stolen by the forced cheerfulness of a party I hadn't wanted. It was my 1-year sobriety anniversary, a milestone that felt less like a victory and more like a tightrope I'd been walking over a canyon of fire for 365 agonizing days. My husband Mark had insisted we celebrate. He said it was important to mark the occasion, to show everyone how well I was doing. What he meant was, it was important to show his mother, Diana, that her daughter-in-law was no longer a public embarrassment. She sat on my beige linen armchair as if it were a throne, a small satisfied smile playing on her lips as she watched me navigate the small crowd of family and a few of my friends from the program. Her gaze was a physical weight, a constant, pressing reminder of her disapproval, her judgment, her endless, silent assessments of my every move. I was clutching a glass of sparkling cider, the condensation cold against my trembling fingers. My sponsor, a woman named Carol who had the calm, weathered face of a lighthouse keeper, stood near the kitchen, her presence a quiet anchor in the churning sea of my anxiety. My uncle, Robert, the only member of my own family who had stuck by me through the worst of it, was with her. They were talking in low tones, but their eyes kept flicking towards me, then towards Diana, a silent, protective orbit. I knew they saw it too. They saw the performance, the charade of a happy family, celebrating a recovery that Diana had never truly believed in. To her, I was not recovering. I was merely in remission, a disease temporarily held at bay, waiting for the inevitable, spectacular relapse. Mark brought me a small plate of cheese and crackers, his smile as brittle as the food. "You're doing great, honey," he whispered, his hand briefly touching the small of my back, but his eyes darted to his mother, seeking her approval, and the gesture felt hollow, a line read from a script. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell them all to get out of my house, to leave me alone with my hard-won, fragile peace. But I just smiled back, a rictus of gratitude that made my cheeks ache. This was the price of readmission into the family, a public display of perfect, compliant wellness, a performance for an audience of one. The party began to thin out around 9. My friends from the program gave me tight, knowing hugs, whispering words of genuine encouragement that felt like the only real oxygen I'd had all night. Finally, only Diana, Mark, Carol, and Uncle Robert remained. Carol and Robert had offered to help clean up, a transparent and deeply appreciated excuse to stay, to act as buffers. Diana, however, showed no signs of leaving. She waited, patient as a predator, until Mark was carrying a tray of glasses into the kitchen, leaving the 3 of us in the living room. Her moment had arrived. "Well, Clara," she began, her voice smooth as poisoned honey, "this has all been very inspiring." She stood up and walked over to the mantelpiece, picking up a framed photo of me and Mark on our wedding day. I was so young in the picture, so full of a naive hope that now seemed like a cruel joke. A whole year. "I must admit, I didn't think you had it in you." She placed the photo back down with a delicate, dismissive tap. From her expensive leather handbag, she produced a thick manila envelope. She laid it on the coffee table between us, the sound a dull thud that seemed to echo the pounding in my chest. "Mark and I have been talking," she said, her eyes glittering with a cold, triumphant fire, "and we've decided that it's time to be realistic about the future. For Leo's sake. My son, my beautiful 3-year-old Leo, who was sleeping peacefully upstairs, blissfully unaware of the viper in our living room." My blood ran cold. "What is this, Diana?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. I knew, on some primal level, that this was an attack, the culmination of years of subtle warfare, now brought out into the open. I could feel Carol and Robert stiffen in the kitchen doorway, just out of Diana's line of sight. They had gone silent, listening. They were my hidden advantage, my unseen observers. And in that moment, I understood that my only chance was to let Diana believe she had me completely alone, completely vulnerable, completely defeated. She smiled.
Full story on channel link below.